We'll ride along with a few different drivers. Take us through, guys.
Yeah, really lucky to have these shots. Kyle Busch with a Toyota in-car camera. Also riding along with Alex Bowman is a nationwide camera.
And then in row 5, we have Kurt Busch with the Sprint onboard camera. And we just heard from Matt Kenseth starting there in row 4 with the Sunoco onboard camera.
Yeah, in row 2, we have the Busch Beer camera riding with Kevin Harvick.
And Joey Logano has a great look in row 1 with the Ford onboard camera.
And we still have a great view from high above the racetrack. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods for this evening race. And we've heard a lot about sparks flying, cars traveling a little bit more, meaning that when they get into the turns, smash down into the racing surface, we'll see the sparks. And as a crew chief, Steve, how do you can't really change a lot of things on these cars because they're on pit road and you're not allowed to make adjustments. So the air pressures could be down on these cars, and that means we'll see a lot more sparks.
Well, it would be, but that's something a crew chief could do. You mentioned the air pressure. Maybe just start 1 pound higher all the way around in all 4 tires. NASCAR said they're going to have a competition, around lap 25, depending on how long it takes here for the track to get finished up and other things. So maybe start with just a little bit more air. Not only would it help bottoming out of the race car, but also that tire where we talked about, Jeff, a little more air pressure can actually help that right front tire, which is going to be very susceptible to damage early on these fast laps.
Let's go back.
I'm sorry, that's a compromise the teams are going to have to make, right? You want to run high air pressure to help with tire wear, but lower air pressure makes the car go faster. So one of those compromises the crew chief's going to have to make.
Let's go back to pit road, Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, there's going to be a lot of eyes on the 19 car of Carl Edwards this evening. Why? Well, he's in a very tough situation at the very bottom of the chase ladder, 32 points below the cutoff line. But as you may have heard him say during a rain delay on NASCAR America, he said anything less than a championship this year would be a disappointment. He understands the situation he's in. He says, I know it's not a good place to be, but it makes our job simple. We need to do one thing, win. And to do that, Edwards says he's going to lay it all out on the line tonight and be as aggressive as he can, trying to bring home that victory. He rolls off 9th, Kelly.
At the opposite end of the chase standings is Jimmy Johnson and this 48 team. They already know that they'll be competing for a 7th championship in Miami, but that doesn't mean that they'll be taking these next 2 races lightly. In fact, Chad Knaus, crew chief, told me this race in particular is especially important because this track surface is so similar to Miami, and these are the same Goodyear tires they'll be running in Miami. So he said how we perform tonight could be indicative of how we compete for that record-tying 7th championship. Jimmy has won 4 straight chase races here in Texas. He starts 19th today, Marty.
Well, Kelly, it's going to be fun to have a little Sunday night racing here in Texas. It seems about like a week ago when practice Friday morning, Kyle Busch had an issue. It was a brand new race car for this 18 team, and they were barely 1 lap into practice, and this happened to Kyle Busch, pounding the wall with that brand new race car. So they had to go to a backup car, and when you go get racing in your 18 team, you pull out some strength from inside the trailer in the backup car. The backup car for Kyle Busch has exactly 1 race on it. He raced at Kansas a few weeks ago. It finished 5th in that race. They have a lot of confidence in that race car, and they started 15th here in the spring and won. Today they start 24th. Adam Stevens told me, what's 9 more spots? I think we can win from there this afternoon, Dave.
Marty, his teammate Denny Hamlin is still in his primary car, but it wasn't very good on Friday. Qualified 17th, and as they worked their way into Saturday practice, crew chief Mike Wheeler told me they struggled with the race car. Probably the hardest we've ever worked in practice, Wheeler told me. But by the end of the day, they got a direction that they liked in the race trim, preparing for tonight's race, what they thought was going to be today's race, and he said, I slept better knowing we had made progress. We'll see how Denny does, rolling off 17th.
Thanks, Dave. And what NASCAR has informed us, they are going to run the cars around the track here for a little while, trying to put some heat in the track. That's the one thing that there have been, I believe, 5 jet dryers that have been working around this racetrack diligently for 5 hours, but they're hoping that it's close to being completely dry, and putting a little more heat in the track using the race cars will help out to speed up this drying process.
The other thing you're seeing is the cars are spread out. They're not just single file. They've spread them out, asking them to go double wide rather than single file in the corners when they can, not going around jet dryers, to try to spread that heat around the corners.
We're already listening into some of the spotter communication. Listen to this from the 18 team.
top right now on the pit. That's the wettest part of the track is the bottom, mid and bottom down the front. So just keeping up the top to work the wall and jet to work the rolling.
Sat here and watched them for 4 or 5, 5 hours, stay in the grandstands, and it's amazing how long they've had to wait, but they've stuck it out.
And we heard earlier that Chase Elliott might be suffering from some flu-like symptoms. Dave, do you have more on that?
But if Chase feels good once he gets rolling here, he'll stay in the car. And Joe, I know as a driver, you've had experiences where the laps and just getting at the task here can really help you feel a whole lot better.
Yeah, just to get comfortable in the motorhome. You're probably going to stay there the rest of the night. I mean, unless Chase ends up feeling really badly, you try to stick it out. I mean, you try to just, your team put so much effort into it. You put so much effort into it. You don't want to get out of that race car unless you have to. It's great to have somebody like Justin that can stay over in case he has to get out. But it's very few times you see drivers when they're sick and have to get out of the race cars. They find a way to make it happen.